Hello, everyone, and welcome to a podcast brought to you by Guerdon. I'm your host for today, Gabrielle, and right now I'm thrilled to be joined by Matt Mayoya, Senior Project Manager at Suffolk, and today we're going to be talking about modular altruism. Here to enlighten us on this subject as well as provide actionable industry insights is Matt. So Matt, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, to start off, let's kick off this podcast into gear by just learning a little bit more about this project you're overseeing. It's called the Sixth Place Project, and just what brought you on board.
6th and St. Julian, what brought Suffolk on board was actually AMJ. I believe Matthew Wickersham had a good relationship with Suffolk. He brought us to the table. Guerdon they won through a competitive bidding process. So we got them on board through a number of different manufacturers out there bidding on the project, and they were the most qualified. We interviewed them and they checked all of our boxes. We met the team and interviewed well, and everything turned out great.
I love to hear. Well, what's your role within this project?
Senior project manager. So my role is essentially overseeing the team from Suffolk and general contractor, managing the day-to-day construction and overseeing all aspects of the project, to be honest with you, from start to finish.
Well, you're going to have some really good perspective on this, because I want to ask you, in what ways have you been seeing the Sixth Street Place project benefiting the community in real time?
In real time, excitement. There's a lot of people, as you know, it's in the Skid Row neighborhood, so there's a lot of unhoused just simply walking around asking questions. When's it opening? And it's a buzz on the street. People are excited about it, and I think it's kind of almost a beacon of hope. There's a lot of people out there that just want to get a place to stay, get off the street, and that's, I think, the biggest draw, biggest excitement going on out there.
Well, there's also obviously ways that this project is largely benefiting the homeless population, those without housing. And how is modular technology in specific playing a part in supporting this initiative?
I think it's time. You're going to hear me say that a lot probably in this discussion, but the time factor for modular is really key. There's probably about what I would call 15 to 20% savings in the overall lifespan of the construction schedule. So it's the speed at which we can bring these to market and get the unhoused off the street. I think that is the biggest value. And again, I'm going to keep saying it, but definitely that is what I believe that the modular world really brings to the table. It's speed and getting people off the street faster.
Absolutely. And your opinion, being able to view this project kind of big picture and building this housing throughout, just what was some of the most prominent challenges that you seem to face in constructing this project?
One of the biggest challenges was kind of what I'll call a modular nuance, and that was finding a staging yard and transportation from the factory. So let me kind of break that down a little bit, because everything's prefabricated offsite. Particularly with Guerdon, it was in Boise. We had to ship them here, but not only did we have to ship them here, we had to stage them in a local staging yard for about a month or two. And that was kind of difficult. I mean, it was in the heart of LA, and trying to find 1.5 to 2 acres of just free open space at a relatively decent price was probably one of the biggest challenges. It was right down to the wire. We went to a couple of different real estate agencies just to try to find these spaces. So that was one of the biggest challenges. And then transportation as a whole, things happen. Tires blow out, trucks break down. So we had to kind of roll with the punches on that one. We had multiple trucking agencies or companies in line. If one truck fell down, we kind of had another one that could pick it up. So those were two of the biggest challenges, is really the staging yard and transportation.
Oh gosh, yeah. Adaptability is a big must in modular at the pace you guys are moving. Well, yes, as we've prefaced thus far, these buildings were constructed by modular means. But for those listening that believe maybe traditional construction methods are probably the way to go for projects of this size or means, well, the question is just, why modular construction over traditional construction? I know you mentioned time is a big factor. What, in addition, supplements this?
Realistically, right now, It's still just the time. So I don't want to speak negatively about modular construction. It's speed, time, predictability, and early to market materials so that you can basically get on top of or get out in front of any inflation. So you're buying material up front. I think that's one of the big key factors here. So if you're prefabricating 75% of the project offsite, you can easily kind of get out in front of any early escalation, especially in our if inflationary world right now. So you can definitely get those materials up front, build a good portion of your building, and try to mitigate any of that escalation. And now, again, time is the biggest factor in my opinion, but mitigating costs and escalation is another big one.
Oh, for sure. And you got to partner with Guerdon for this project. And why did you think that or evaluate that Guerdon was the best candidate to carry out the Sixth Place project? What specifically about them? What about Guerdon was able to offer that benefited the development the most, do you think?
I think it was their team. Um, the team, Brian, he was amazing. The project manager, Brian Shoemaker. I hope I said that right. His team was just amazing. They got it done. Extremely collaborative, coordination, everything surrounding the whole Guerdon team and helping us move the project along. If there was an issue, hey, let's look at it. Meetings, we would hold meetings weekly, if not daily, and make sure that every detail was reviewed. Now, did everything go perfect? No, it didn't. As soon as these things arrived, we found problems, and again, his team was on top of it. We made phone calls. He accepted some issues. He pushed back on others, which is normal, but at the same time, he helped get it done and get it done in a timely fashion.
In an efficient way. It's so very important to have that support system for projects of this nature. And, for
Absolutely.
those who've seen this type of work and just how ultimately it succeeded for the Sixth Place project and just perhaps are inspired to begin similar projects of their own, just where do you see or foresee projects like this going in the near future? How sustainable at the end of this project have you judged? How sustainable is this model moving forward, do you think?
I think very sustainable. In fact, I'm working on another one in East LA, very similar model, and we have a third schedule here within the next early 24. It's a matter of getting buy-in by developers. When you see the bottom line, when you look at the cost benefit analysis of the construction costs, they look at a per square foot or a per unit. It's not there yet. But time, and I said it before, time is really the key item here. You can bring these to market so much faster and turn them over faster that you can keep going and get more people off the street in a faster fashion. But ultimately, it is there. I believe it's not the answer to the housing issue, but it is definitely a answer and a very good one. It's just a matter of selling those developers and getting them on board.
Oh, for sure. And you're taking action. That's the important part. And so you mentioned you're starting new projects, which is very exciting. What do you think you're going to take from the experiences of this past project or initial project that you will probably bring on to the next one, changes or updates? Kind of how will you adapt your process to these newer projects?
It's a long list of lessons learned. We started that list, and it continues to grow. And I continue to mirror those lessons learned onto the next one. Like I said earlier, the staging yard and transportation, I was all over that on this new one in East LA. The staging yard's there. They're landing as of this week. I think we have 12 already. So it's just a matter of those lessons learned, passing them on to try to make it even more efficient so that that time is that much faster.
All right. So, Matt, for those who are interested in the project and want to learn more about Suffolk and just what you do and maybe even join forces on the next project, how would they reach out to you?
Yes, you can reach out to Suffolk.com. Out in the Los Angeles office, or you can email me direct at mmayoya@suffolk.com.
That wraps up the conversation for today. So thank you, Matt, for joining us on today's podcast, just discussing ways about the Sixth Place project and what went into it, as well as modular altruism. It was a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Of course. And as always, if you'd like to learn more about Guerdon, please visit GuerdonModularBuildings.com and look for this podcast wherever it is you get your podcasts at. I've been your host, Gabrielle. Thanks for tuning in.